got 8 tours of duty. Is that correct?
8 combat tours. Yeah.
8 combat tours. So I feel like we've talked a lot about practice. I want to hear your perspective on how is that practice, that the experience that you build over time. How does that translate to game time? How does it translate?
Yeah, interesting thing. If there's one thing that I think it made the moments that much more incredibly meaningful. But if there's one complaint all of us had, is we spent so much time preparing, and you only have these brief moments to really get it all together in combat. And we all wanted more of the combat, and we trained forever dogfighting. One plane trying to shoot down another. I trained in that a lot in A4 Skyhawks. Never had an enemy aircraft launch up against us because we're too good at it. But the other things I trained at, a lot of bombing, a lot of things like that. But the moments when it all comes together, when you're deployed, you're overseas, and you get a chance to be the man on the tip of the spear, doing the bidding of your country. And you think, presidents and prime ministers make proclamations and all this kind of stuff, but usually it's like a 24-year-old pilot in a cockpit who actually executes foreign policy, who actually, it's that 18-year-old rifleman, that Marine gunner on top of a Humvee. He's the guy actually doing it. Everything else the country has, all our huge GDP and everything else supports just a tiny handful of guys on the very tip of the spear. And so those moments when you're there, I remember rolling into a target over Baghdad once, and I was leading a 4-ship of A6 intruders, and we were covered by F-14s on each wing. And then we had an EA-6B Prowler ready to shoot harm missiles if someone shot a missile at us. And I remember rolling in with all my, looking left and right. I'm trying to concentrate on what I'm trying to do here, but I'm looking in my rear view mirrors. I had these skinny rear view mirrors, and all I see is all this metal, and we're all coming down in this 40-degree dive over bad guy country. And I'm just looking at it like, oh, this is cool. I mean, it was awesome, man. But those moments were, frankly, compared to the amount of preparation, those moments were few and far between. And when this was a crazy thing, I actually got the vast majority of my combat time wasn't in a fighter. It was in a little turboprop playing like a bird dog over Iraq and Afghanistan, where we hunted the world's most wanted terrorists. And I got to do that hundreds of hours a month instead of just a few hours.
And I wanted to bring that up, Craig. Actually, it's when you start thinking about combat, the A6, the F-18, all those planes, that's like what we envision. Tell us a little bit, like that. I love the idea that you spent more hours in hostile territory in civilian aircraft doing scouting work. Let us know a little bit about that.
So essentially it was doing the same mission that a bird dog does. So a really good quail dog, what does he do? He goes running around the woods sniffing, and then he sniffs a covey of quail, and he sneaks up on them, and he gets close enough, and then he points, and he holds point, and he doesn't flush the covey of quail. And then somebody else comes along, the hunters come along with shotguns, and they ease up there, and then when those quail flush, they shoot, right? Well, there's a whole part of the downrange mission for special operations that involves people who basically are bird dogs. And what we would do is we would fly little turboprop airplanes, Metroliners, King Airs, and there's a constellation of others. And we would fly low and slow. And the reason you couldn't use a fighter for that is they make too much noise and they go too fast. So if you're between a valley and you're trying to find a Taliban IED maker, you need to be able to get down in that valley, down low, and we had top secret equipment on board that I still can't, I could tell you.
But
hey, I
then
would
I'd have to,
NASA,
then I'd have to
listen,
kill you.
NASA cleared us to talk to an astronaut. I think we're pretty reliable.
if anybody's clear.
He didn't know where we were going.
No.
Okay. So anyway,
Here, we'll just carry the conversation.
Yeah. So anyway, just listening. So we're flying down low, and
I avoid cliches, boys.
So we would fly down low, and then and we'd spend hours and hours, and we'd find a terrorist, And then using our infrared camera, that it could also be a daylight camera during the daytime, we would follow this terrorist around. And we would basically do pattern of life, which was called a day in the life of a terrorist. So we'd want to know where that guy bought his cigarettes, where he lived, who his buddies were, and we'd take pictures all day long of everyone that he met and interacted with, and they just made the list. And we'd build this list until we basically, it's the same kind of cop work that the FBI does when they're trying to figure out a cartel or a network. You want to figure out who's connected to who all over, and you don't want to just kill that. You might be killing a low-level sergeant or lieutenant. You want him to lead you back to the whole nest. So we would do that. And then the culmination was, and these missions normally happen when I was there in the middle of the night, so we fought to get on the middle of the night sortie. And then usually we'll wait to bed them down in the middle of the night. And then in the middle of the night in downtown Kabul or in the Hindu Kush Mountains, we would be over top of them. And then we would put a laser on that guy, and we'd bring in AC-130 gunships or A-10 Warthogs if we were going to execute them from the air, or maybe F-16s would drop JDAMs on that. Or we'd bring in SEAL teams or Green Beret teams, and they would come in on the ground and surround the building if they were trying to capture him alive to see what he knew, or kill him. So basically it was a kill-capture mission that involved detective work, typically all day long, and then at night, an execution. And I got to be involved in that. It kind of became my thing. I got good at it. I ended up not only doing that in the Metro liner with special operations, but I wrote the tactics manual on how to take a King Air, convert it, use it in Iraq and Afghanistan. And then I became the commander of a squadron that disseminated this information to 3 more squadrons. And then we populated 3 squadrons downrange. And in about 4 years, probably, if you'd have told me when I was a fighter pilot shooting my watch that I'd ever fly a turboprop, I'd have thought. But the thing I'm most proud of in my whole career wasn't flying fighters and looking cool. It was in a turboprop. We racked up over 10,000 kills and captures in 4 years.
Wow.
And all coming from my squadron.
Wow.
And I love stats like that, and I hate it when all these politically correct generals say, we want to degrade the enemy, deny his, no, we don't want to degrade and deny. We want to kill. And if he's an enemy of the United States, he made our list, and we're going to make sure that if they made our list, we had a card deck, as a matter of fact. The ace of spades would be like the most wanted guy. Yeah. So you felt pretty good if you were after a face card, really good if you were after an ace that night. But I got to kill a couple kings and a couple, so that feels pretty good. But when you're out there doing that, it's that every time you take out an IED maker, how many IEDs is he going to make, and how many soldiers is that going to save? And I had both brother-in-laws of mine call me up the night of 9/11. Big day in my life, and they both called me up and said they were going to go to the Army the very next day and join. And I knew, and they did multiple tours of combat on the ground. One as a flight surgeon on the Black Hawk helicopters, and the other as a combat infantry company commander. And I knew that every time we took out bad guys, the chance of my brother-in-law making it home just went up just a little bit. The chance of my nieces and nephews seeing their dad again just went up.
Yeah.
Pretty powerful work, and the dedication and commitment to that over your life. I don't know that there's enough people in this country to say thank you to really properly.
No, you thank the guys who were on the ground. I had it easy, man.
But the military, largest fighting military in the world, the greatest fighting military in the world. Yet it's made of the most common everyday people in America. Some of my best friends serve. You've served, and it's incredible the overwhelming task that you guys sign up for. You say, yeah, we'll do that work, and not just do it haphazardly. I mean, literally commit your life to that work, and I think it's a line of work that. If you probably, I've never been in the military, but I acknowledge the fact that not everybody understands it.
Well, it's a calling, and I tell you, I had many times when I'd be back here stateside and think, man, this world, it's a bad place, and America's going down the tubes, you know. And I mean, you look at so many things in culture and be disappointed, and yet there were moments when I was overseas and I saw young 18, 19-year-old Marines at some fob when I landed my C-27 to offload beans and bullets for them. And these strapping young Marines come up and shake your hand, and you look at those guys and you go, America's going to be
all right.
Yeah, we're going to be all right.
Yeah.